My name is Gabrielle Querrard, and you're watching Yellow Cedar.
We know that one of the most common phrases to describe the Virgin Islands is a melting pot or a callaloo pot of sorts, where there's been an infusion of various cultures, including indigenous, African, and European. But we know that the origins of this melting pot has a very painful history, including the Atlantic slave trade and centuries of colonial rule. Enslaved Africans brought with them deep-rooted spiritual belief systems that included veneration for ancestors, reverence for nature and its spirits, as well as sacred rituals, while European colonialism brought with it Christianity that was enforced upon the enslaved population, often through violence and suppression. And while these African belief systems were suppressed, they were not completely erased, and instead they were hidden in plain sight. The merging of African belief systems and Christianity birthed new religions and spiritual practices, which honored both African and Christian elements. A really great example of this is the religion of Santeria. The practice of Santeria venerates both Christian saints as well as African orishas. To take this one step further, all across the region, people will light candles for saints, but they will pour libations for the ancestors. And while Christianity in its own regard is largely practiced across the Caribbean region, there are also elements of African spirituality that permeate the region to this day, including our acknowledgement of Jumbis. Jumbis are used as an umbrella term of spirits, any type of spirit. They could be good, they could be bad, but unfortunately, the term Jumbi has taken on a more negative connotation that would include entities like Cowfoot Woman, the Sukunya, Laja Bless, the Dwen, who are often seen as trickster energies that are largely up to no good. And because of this, there are ways that people can employ protection mechanisms to protect both their home and their families from these entities, including keeping your shoes outside your front door because it's believed that Jumbis have backward feet or no feet at all, and they spend the entire night trying to figure out how to put on shoes. Another example of this is the sprinkling of rice around the home, inside and outside, because it's believed that when Jumbis, who have a very obsessive compulsive nature about them, see the grains of rice, they are compelled to count the grains of rice until the sun rises in the morning and their power begins to wane. And while the world, and the Caribbean region specifically, has taken on a bit more pragmatism in the way that we believe in entities and Jumbis, when we look back at old newspaper clippings and articles, we see how pervasive these belief systems were in our communities. A really great example of this is this newspaper clipping I found online. It tells a story of a woman, a Virgin Islander, who was married to a Danish soldier. And one night she wakes up in the middle of the night to see her husband turn into or shapeshift into some sort of other being. It's described to be like an animal of sorts. Jumps through the window, leaving her completely afraid all night. And then he comes back before morning, only to find that she's salted his skin and essentially destroying his human skin. The story was so strikingly similar to that of the werewolf that is oftentimes perceived as a European folkloric entity that it emphasizes the point I'm trying to make about how all of these influences have led to the spiritual belief systems that many of us hold in the Caribbean today.
My name is Gabrielle Querrard, and you're watching Yellow Cedar.